disgusting British weather as usual. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are down at Ventnor service station and they have given me the keys to one of the most controversial BMWs ever made. This is a E63 2003 745i. This has got to be one of the bargain cars right now, in my opinion. I love depreciated luxury cars, and we are sat in one that is depreciated £56,000. This is about £59,000 new back in 2003. But as someone that absolutely loves luxury cars from this generation, what is this like? Because I've never had one on the channel, so I'm really intrigued. First things first, started it up, pulled it out. Thank you to the guys for moving some cars around. It is luxurious in here. Like, it is the most luxurious inside I've been in from this generation in a very long time. It's grand. It feels very grand in here. You've got tons of buttons. We will go through everything. Look at this though, right? Put the blind up at the back, see that? But yeah, look at that for luxury. It's like we're on a private jet. So yeah, really excited for this car actually. I'm extra weird and love cars like this. So let's get on the road and see what it's like. And talk about this being a £3,000 car now from this dealership. If you would like to follow Ventnor service station, links are in the description. This car is physically for sale through these guys at this present time. Get at them because this is a cool car in my opinion. For the money, I don't think you can get anything better. Anyway, enough blabbing. Let's get on the road, shall we? Right, selected drive. There's so many buttons in here. It's insane. The first thing I've noticed actually before pulling out of Ventnor service station is the amount of buttons and just things you can press in here are crazy. If you like pressing buttons, this might be a car for you. So it unfortunately is a very rainy and slightly damp day in the UK, which is typical. So the 2003 745i. A lot of rappers used to go on about this car. Do you remember? I think it was Rick Ross that went on about a 745i from this era because these cars were very expensive. This obviously isn't the flagship V12 variant, but it is the more modest V8, of course. So it has the 4.4 litre V8 up front, producing 328 horsepower, they claim. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is everyday driving. This car is still retaining, as we go through, it's still retaining 22 mpg. Now my Lexus, my 3 litre 2JZ Lexus was doing very similar numbers to that, and obviously that was a 3 litre variant of that car, so I don't think that's too bad. Any hot hatch you're going to buy is probably going to be in the mid-20s. This is a very similar situation, but you don't buy a V8 for the numbers on the petrol bill, if I'm quite honest. That's not why we're here. I want to talk about this car and the package it gives you for £3,000. Now I'm going to straight away talk about Top Gear, going on about this car being just not very good looking and stuff, but I feel like now we're in 2023, it's aged quite well in a weird way. I look at these and think, yes, that looks still relatively contemporary. LED lights, like, it still looks the part. I mean, you put a private plate on it, no one's gonna know you paid £3,000 for this car whatsoever. Driving portion though, let's get straight onto that because I feel like that's what we're really here for. The car itself and, you know, what you're able to buy in the market. 4.4 litre 745i, relatively available but not really in nice condition. This one is a stunning example, 93,000 miles on the clock, but I feel like this car is warranted from its inside and the driving portion, because this isn't a performance car. It's not going to go crazy around corners. Yes, it still feels very stable. The best things are on the inside and the luxury amenities you get in a car like this. Even in, you know, early 2000s, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, when this car was made and produced, there is tons of stuff to talk about in here. One of them being one of the coolest phone keypads that were available in these generation BMWs. Another thing is buttons. So you've got iDrive buttons in the center to control, you know, your radio, your sat nav, everything like that, and the soft directional pad just down here. Still, years on, it just glides round your fingertips as you drive along. And this being an early 2000s car, it still retains buttons for your heating controls, which I'm a huge fan of. I like my new cars, don't get me wrong, I like luxury cars, but a lot of them have gone so digitalized, you don't have the feedback and the ease to just go for the heater button, go for the blower button. And it still has a bit of feedback as well. There's still feedback from buttons, there's still feel in the steering, but there is that luxury element. It takes you away from driving. As we drive around a quaint little town of Ventnor on the Isle of Wight, it's quiet in here, it's refined. The steering I can literally do with my pinky if I wanted to. It is just still a fantastically luxurious machine, this. But we'll pull over, and I feel like, in the rain of course, we'll have a quick look around this car, shall we? Now I will say so sorry about the wind and the sound of the sea today, but we will start with a walk round. We'll look around this thing because a lot of people know what they look like, but there's some cool features. There's some cool features. One of them being how wide the car is. They are extremely wide. This is a usual parking space in the UK, relatively wide in comparison. Now a lot of people, especially Top Gear fans, will remember when Jeremy Clarkson was talking about the designer going like that at the end. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's aged pretty well, but because of the windy sea, we will get inside and show you the best bits. So jumping inside the car, this is where the party starts for me. We'll come in and you will notice a huge difference in sound. Ready? Complete silence in here, luxury car silence, which is top tier what I'm about, if I'm quite honest. So, I'm going to talk you through the interior because there's a lot of things to talk about in here from the driver's point of view. You have this relatively square looking steering wheel, thumb buttons up here, and tons of stuff here to talk about, but relatively similar to stuff you would find on newer cars. The cool bits start though for me, and I will point out the cool era correct things that you'll find in this BMW. One of them being, and I've already talked about it, the phone keypad just down here. Very cool thing from this era. Button for the glove box there, still a very cool thing. You even have the disc selection just over here in front of the passenger. Again, something that you wouldn't usually get in newer luxury cars. If you didn't want to use this here, you do have an optional BMW phone. Look at this, still powering on in 2023. How cool is that to have in your luxury car? You can even put your SIM card in it. Look at that. Down here in the next one, you just have a slight coin tray, and on the bottom, another tray with your cigarette lighter. And I must admit, everything works in here, even down to the buttons across here where you change your seating position. This all works as it should. This is another cool feature from this era BMW. And just under here, tons of storage down there, and there is even a secret little coin tray just here for you to put stuff in if you need to. Cup holders down here. I always say that luxury cars need to have sublime cup holder position. This one has probably one of the best in its class, right here, right in front of the driver and passenger, and not in the way, which is fantastic. And these seats, I'm going to say again, these seats are on another level comfortable. In fact, I've still got my headrest in the private jet function. That's what I'm going to call it. It's actually quite cool to have that while you're driving along. I completely get it. Around the steering wheel, you actually have 4 of these stalks. So you have indicator stalk up here, you have cruise control stalk down here, the other side, your wipers stalk just here, and then up here, this is actually where you change gear. So it's not actually down here where you would usually find it, it's up here, and you press it towards you to go down into drive, up into reverse, or select this button here for park. And as we come into the rear, it would be rude not to get in the rear of the car of this thing, because it is just the most lovely place. So you've got a blind just here, you have wood paneling behind the rear seats, which again is something you probably wouldn't notice unless you pointed it out. Such a cool feature. You have dual cigarette lighters, you have dual blowers here that you can actually put hot and cold both sides. You have this center armrest that comes down. That's again a very cool feature. As well as this heater vent here, there is also heater vents just over here. A small ashtray just here, and just the nicest set of seats. I mean, these seats are incredibly comfortable. Of course, a lot of these cars were, you know, built for chauffeuring and stuff. Well, no, this is a short wheelbase car, not a long wheelbase car. There is still tons of room, especially for me, because I love to slouch. But enough of me talking about the 7 Series from the back seat. Let me jump back in the driver's seat and I'll gather my thoughts on the 745i. One thing I absolutely love about driving cars like this is the grand theatre of the car. And I know that might sound a little bit silly, but it just wafts, this car. It is just like being on a private jet. And I know that sounds crazy, but the seats are sublimely comfortable. The padding on the armrests is spongy as you put your elbows down. I would happily jump onto a ferry from the Isle of Wight up to Scotland in this right now and just be in the lap of luxury the whole way up. And this rivals, in my opinion, new luxury cars that I've driven recently. It 100% is better than my 300C. If you're after a luxury car from this era, this surpasses my 300C in my opinion as a better car. There's tons more kit in here. It just feels so much more planted as a drive as well, and it's got wood and everything is just still working in this model, which is just so lovely. The rear blind is just there. It's a rear blind. You pop it up and down if you fancy. It's just such a nice place to be in here. I'm absolutely gobsmacked that cars from this era are still this nice, and I feel like it was at the time a huge leap forward for BMW in the luxury division. The previous 7 Series, probably one of my favourite 7 Series, the boxy shape, still, you know, a cult classic shape, and it's still really, really cool, but my God, this is a world away from that car. So when this car came out, it must have felt so futuristic with its quality and the way it felt to drive in comparison to that car. And even in 2023, honestly, you could put me in the new 7 Series. Yes, it would have new amenities inside, but like, for the money, £3,000, I'm going to say it again, that is an absolute bargain of a car. It really is. So with that, guys, I'm going to thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for coming with me and cruising around in this fantastic 745i today. Make sure you again go to Ventnor Service Station on Instagram and Facebook. Have a look at their stock. If this is still for sale, which I very much doubt it is, there is tons of stuff coming in and out of there, and hopefully we can work with them in the future with some cool new stock they have coming in. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm going to cruise back now. We'll see you on the next one.